Hey everybody, Everett's Live Music coming to you on the first day of February of the year 2024. Another shout out today. Probably be I'll be coming up on a year here of these. And today I just as most days I'm thinking of quite a few things. They'll tell us that Black History Month starts, right? So I think to myself a little bit, sure, I'll recognize and remember what has happened in some of the earliest forms to me of like the greed and the money and all that stuff, right? Because you're going to. Slave trading had gone on for a long time, but if you want to talk about Black History Month, I think they're talking about African Americans or those that came, from Africa, right? For money. And then just thrown into a way of life they've never really ever been accustomed to, for one, and then not even to one degree or another allowed to even learn at times, as far as like an education would provide them. Or the idea that they could probably sustain their own life if they were taught well enough, So I think about those things for our history here in the United States of America and where I'm from. I'll think about that for the month. Eli Whitney, Frederick Douglass, Etta James. B.B. King, if you want to talk about like color. I do like the idea of trying to get away from it all, but I don't have any problem with remembering any of it. But I like to try to get away from for my personal self in life the best I can. In conversation, I don't use that anymore. The best I can. And for me, for Black History Month, that's what I offer. I don't see you as a black person. You're not a Mexican. You're not a... But if you want to be okay, that'd be all right with me too, man. I don't know how to approach the situation outside of that, but in some people, that's a good conversation to be had too. I think for the United States of America, we're the Cotusoa tribe now, citizens of the United States of America. And you might just say we're Americans. Fine. Good. I don't think it's really that confusing. It's fun to see clips or something of different times in life when they've explained to people it's the name on the front of the jersey if it says USA, more than the one on the back as you define yourself as an individual. It's something we haven't seemed to be able to do as a people across the planet, as we have continued on this conquest of an endless desire to populate and industrialize every inch of the planet to one degree or another. So I'll always end up there on that nature, the future of us, and the realities of what's happening around us, man. And the true degree for, let's say, the month of Black History Month, right? So if we go back far enough, for me, what I would say is we're going to end up in an idea of segregation and different feelings towards people that's all been driven by money. It's all driven by money. At one point, there was so much to be had, and as there's less to be had, then we fight over who has more than the other one if there's not enough for everyone to go around. It's a really weird system that we've found ourselves in, I feel to myself. I don't know as though I have all the answers or solutions, but it'd be great to get more conversations going, but that affects us all. It drives everything. It drives crime and it's just the fuel to all of it. We haven't, even the solutions to problems all hinge on money. And I'm going to use this month for that because, I don't know, I'll use any month. But it drives everything. It drives our competition. It drives the need to do better than everyone else and not just have a common goal, but to outdo the next guy. The endless competition, and while some of the competitive angles of life are healthy, others are not so. They shouldn't so be influenced by such competition. Why is it not just a better idea of we want to live? We don't even need to barter, right? I mean, sure, but why wasn't this written for us to just be with one another and take care of one another? And no one really has more than anyone else, and that's enough. And all we really want to do is help one another to learn more about what has happened around us. Why are we stuck in this endless pursuit of dominance and those that have so much more? Well, big conversations that could be had. Why are we so caught up in petty conflicts and so many things that happen to us around the planet at sometimes we have no control over, and yet we try to, at times, I don't think it's terrible to express feelings for events that are happening around the planet out of our control and out of our ability to influence the situation directly. So to have your voice heard is healthy. Yes, I would agree with that as well. But don't ever forget what's happening in front of us, and as the future unfolds and jobs disappear and AI comes to life and robots and the idea of putting a chip in someone's brain, just don't forget that the people that will be able to afford this are the wealthy. And for the poor, we still, I don't know how it plays out, but to me, I think if you explore the numbers, you're going to find, the minorities, including the blacks, as they want to express this month, Black History Month, those people of color and stuff to being a greater ratio of the poverty per capita as they are of the people that are incarcerated in different aspects of life that they try to express to us. But it's all driven from money to one degree or another. All of it is. It's a way of life that's just happened. How it happened would be a great conversation. More of that would be great to be had, but it has happened. And as we keep going that way, we lose sight of our greatest hope, just to want to be as one, and slow down. Because when we're driven by that, it just drives the more thing, and it fuels more resistance, and there's no peace. They talk about the numbers on the planet right now for global warming and stuff, and we can't be sidetracked from these things. I know we're going to have elections and other things, but wow. I know I'm all over the place at times with stuff, but I can't help express that. Does anybody feel that it's more than just an idea of, well, we're going to barter with? Where is the idea we're just going to take care of each other? We're going to maybe there's not enough of us that would dare to move to that level So then, if you understand that point of view too, then what do you think happens to those that they don't think can rise to that level of thinking, of rationality? We rationalize life, but it hasn't been rationalized up to this point. Because the system and the way it's set up and stuff is more, at one point or another. I hear a message about like a Costco, right? And like returning items and stuff. And some people take like couches for a couple years. Then they take them back, right? And they get their money back, no questions asked. And they do it with TVs and they do it with all this stuff. And it does seem weird to me that's something that's okay. Is that how we're going to balance what happens? I don't know. I don't exactly think so, but I do know there's a lot of people that work the system. And I would say some of us, including me, try to do stuff right. I make decent money when I work. I don't work a lot, and I'm poor, but I do make decent money when I work. And I would think to myself that would be like enough. But in any event, I just don't think the numbers work out in the future for us, for the better of the planet. That's quite often where I go with everything, because that's where my mind goes with it all. Like, what is the long distance equation working out to? It hasn't been proving the numbers are going to be stable with what we've been doing. We have to start thinking of doing life differently, I believe. Stop being so sensitive again, and stop, I bring up instances on an accident or something. It's not to like pick on like a certain person or a certain insurance company. It's just the way of life that we've said, yes, this will work. And then when you try to use the system that's there for you and it stalls, or you have to continually from like my end, if I am someone that's been hit and I'm in my home, you would think with this system they've set up around us, I wouldn't have to do anything. But I do. I have to do quite a bit of legwork. And anyway, those conversations aren't to like pinpoint one person or something, because all these things happen to all of us at one point or another sometimes. And some people, well, they have enough money where it doesn't feel the same, I don't think. I worry about the global warming like some, and I don't doubt the numbers, and I don't doubt the scientists. And I tell the kid the other day, just imagine like 100 people. And it's really funny because now that I've been doing this YouTube for like the last year, and I got to, I'm actually viewing some other people's feelings and thoughts. And sure, sometimes you're like, wow, that's really ironic. You're saying the same stuff I feel and think. But in the next breath, it's actually healthy that you're not alone. Because some people are realistically there with it, and they know what's happening, or they feel at least there is no argument. Because if you really stood there like in a huge group of people of 100 people, and 97 walked over to one side and 3 walked over to the other, you would see, and they're like, that it's really happening on one level or another, and they don't always have to be exactly right. Because as a scientist, in the way I feel a lot of the time is a lot of stuff is undecided until, we have so many facts, and I think so many times we go so fast. That's like with the chip coming lately with the Tesla thing, Sure, but like, who can afford it? Who can afford genetic enhancements to their genetics, their DNA strands? Or, who can afford the robots? Who can afford the artificial intelligence? And as stuff goes away, don't we see it together? And that's where we really need to just, all we really need is one another. What if we took a big break? That's what a recent study said. I watched a little Star Talk thing. If we just stop for a while, I've said that in my own videos, and it's I can't feel better than to know that at least I'm not, losing my mind. But it's weird. They say that like that like 97% of these scientists believe, right? And then only 3% don't believe. And then when you look at society as like a whole and like the people in a general, we don't think about life like this. And if we want change, we as our people, as the poor people, as the many, we have to start finding a way to stick together on this. Because for so many, you're not going to be able to afford the luxury of making drastic changes when they are needed to be made in order to accommodate the changing of the planet or different scenarios that have yet to be seen. And they're maybe sharing as much as they have with us, or maybe they're not at times. Or maybe some of us don't listen to enough. I'm only going to listen to so much, and I feel inside, and I look around me, and I've seen it through my lifetime. In my short lifetime, I've seen this. In roughly a half a century on the planet, man. That's how I look at life. I'm like here. For the child. For anybody I come in, you're here. You're on the planet. Do we really want to make the necessary changes as a people? So I'm coming into the Black History Month that way because, if anybody, I wrote that one song, man. We got to be more than the bad things that have happened to us. And part of that song is meant for people, too. I don't like to get into a lot of that about my music, but because I'd rather you be asked the questions, but it is meant for everyone. Those that have caused problems, big problems, man, on the planet. You got to stop and you got to step up and say, man, you're right, dude. This endless competition against one another and all of this that just keeps fueling. It's like just driving the motor, man. It's like the nitrous gets poured in there when it needs to and it goes fast. It's crazy, man. I've mentioned in so many messages how I've seen it even here close to me. Without the answers provided that would provide a future, you're just going to tell us it's all under control. That's not enough at times. And if we're driven hard enough and fast enough and our heads are pulled to one side or another, enough different ways over one topic or another, and we're misled, we lose sight of what's the big picture in front of us, and that's us all getting along And when I mentioned prosperity in a message before, try not to imagine prosperity only being defined as a financial aspect of life, but where your people as a whole are prospering and finding a level of well-being for everyone. It's bizarre to me that money took us over the way it has. I mean, you can put all the alcohol and drugs and all that are bad for us. It has been the money. I will not stop saying it, because it really is what's done this. I mean, we abandoned the idea of just taking care of one another. At one point or another, it's actually happened. And it just kept happening and happening and happening, and those that are strong survive and this and that. We are not separate from this planet's animal kingdom. We are part of it. But we have a level of intelligence that provides, I feel, a level of conscience. And that's above, it helps you decide what's right and wrong. Nothing else rules out that. That's who we are, man. We live with making sound decisions and different things in the future of our children. And what's best for them. We don't gamble with that, because some things can't be turned back. And we have, and so many people have suffered through history, and so many people have had to fight for so long. And I'll go back to that one for your Black History Month. Sure. Because it was in the what was 1700s at least, they were being brought over, and the slave trade was all over the world and this and that. And by the 1800s, we had won our independence and we're developing the country, and what it took to the 1800s to say, like, hey man, we can't do this. What do you mean we can't? But it has taken so long at times to even see what we are doing is wrong. That's hard for me to take. And just say, like, okay, well, we all make mistakes. But it starts there, right? And then by 1865, right, we're done killing one another. We killed more of our own people than all the major wars or something. They'll say whatever you want to count the bodies up as. But we killed one another drastically. And in the same point in life, moved across the United States in a form of genocide, not only on the Native Americans, but on the animals themselves throughout that point in history, changing, altering the course of plant life and animals, habitat, and different, just on an unprecedented scale. Okay, so you get your your freedom, right, for the African Americans, right, and at that same point, right, we got. It's kind of cool, man. We got Susan. I mentioned her a while ago, Susan B. Anthony, because she's right there, dude, in the 1860s. And she shows up to vote. And she gets arrested, But it isn't till the 1900s that you're even considered. And at the same breath, at the same moment, whether you got your freedom or not, boy, don't show up here to go casting no ballots. You'll be lucky to go back home to your family before you put a ballot in that tank over there and decide that you can vote, just because some uppity president decided that you're somehow now an equal person, And just imagine to yourself a little bit how hard it must have been for them to learn and find textbooks and levels of learning and all that, man. It took off from the 1860s all the way through, dude, to the 1960s. Fighting tooth and nail along the whole way I mean, what were you going to do? Jump on a canoe and go back to Africa? Whatever, man. You got some ass backwards comments, some people that I've heard throughout the history, and I try not to engage in too heavy of a conversation that invites more of a conflict. But these conflicts should be able to be had in conversation in a healthy manner. That's a really long time. And to ever to blame a culture or a what you call black people, they're united. They're your citizens, man. They're people of your people, and you have not educated them, and you have not integrated properly throughout that history of us, man. We tried to assimilate. You didn't try to integrate. Integrate, man. You let people be who they are. I mean, there's rules you will follow, but you will be provided with the opportunities and the tools, and you will get to getting after it. So, however it happened, this big transition, I will not ever turn a blind eye to the history and the struggles for those people, as you would want to have it defined. And maybe you don't want it defined that way, and maybe you're more on the level I am. I mean, we're just people now. And I'm not dumb to the history, dude. Not in one bit of it. It's such a struggle to get away from the right, wrong. We have to look at what needs to be done. We have to look at what needs to be done for the future, for the best of our people, man. Global warming is just one small thing. Poverty and everything else that goes with it. It's like this big beast, man. And it just keeps going. It's like a machine, with the conflict and the competition and the... and we see it now. I've exclaimed enough in the past, but I'll remember all of that for the month, and how long it took up until the 1960s, and then to watch, I wasn't alive yet, but to hear that MLK was shot and killed, in Tennessee, Memphis, and just, it's kind of weird. It really is, the history of it all. The Oklahoma City, what was it, Tulsa, Oklahoma, right? The in the 1900s there, and all the people that were killed. So none of that'll ever go. And the natives, I feel, by far it was the worst. It's just who we are, man. Not anymore. We got to start showing, man, that we're letting go of it. Somehow, some way. I talked too long tonight, probably. I don't know. Hey, man, peace.